We have breaking news. A massive search is on for this woman. Her name is Isabelle Johnson. She is a suspected murderer. She uses different names and she alters her identity. She is dangerous. If you see her, do not approach her. Call 911. In just a moment, I will speak with the sheriff's office spearheading this manhunt for this woman. Plus, this hour, President Trump will host in the Rose Garden the 2025 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. We're going to bring you there live when that begins. Also, problems at the Secret Service. It is confirming a major leak involving Vice President J.D. Vance's security detail. What a Secret Service agent reportedly did that has now landed him on administrative leave. Plus, today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in the Philippines. But it is what happened after the meeting that's going viral.
Russian helping Iran target U.S. troops.
Nice hairstyle.
Nice hairstyle. Quite the dodge there. So what else is going viral today? You will see in our soundbite shuffle. And is this real or not real? This is a soccer stadium atop a skyscraper in Saudi Arabia ahead of the 2034 World Cup. Start guessing now if you think it is real or not real. I'm Greta Van Susteren. This is The Record. Back to the breaking news. Have you seen this woman? Right now, there is a multi-state search for Isabelle Johnson. Police say the 38-year-old woman is wanted for murder in the death of Jason Colthart. On June 25th, his remains were found in a shallow grave in Florida. Police warn Johnson may be wearing disguises, and as you can see on your screen, and Chief Deputy of the Walton County Sheriff's Office in Florida, Dustin Cosson, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And do you have any idea where this woman was last seen?
Yes, Greta, thank you for having us. She was last seen in Destin, Okaloosa County area, but that would have been back on the 28th of June, or 28th of June, excuse me. From then, we've continued our investigation to ultimately leading her to bouncing around multiple locations. And as you can see from the pictures that you showed, really changing her appearance quite frequently.
Do you know anything about her background? And I'll get to the suspected murder in a second, but who is she?
Yeah, so the background is really important for us in this case because she lives a life with no pattern. When we're trying to find somebody, we try to pattern lifestyles, and for us, that is a pattern. She has no pattern. So moving from place to place, bouncing around every few days really has become kind of a part of our investigation that we're intimately involved in to identify where she is and anybody that may be helping her.
Does she have family or an ex-spouse or a current spouse or friends?
Yes. Yeah, she does have a network of friends. Again, locally, we've done a lot of enforcement on those friends and made some additional arrests, 5 total arrests related to people that have been helping her, not only just evade law enforcement, but also participated in the killing or helping her hide and remove some evidence potentially from ultimately the killing of Jason Colthart. And so as that list continues to grow and people continue to increase, our focus is on identifying anybody and everybody that's helped her so we can hold them accountable too, because that's what we're doing right now is really focusing all those efforts to find Isabelle Johnson.
Okay, Jason Colthart, the man who was found in a shallow grave. How was he found? I mean, how did someone stumble on this shallow grave?
Well, we were given 2 separate tips from 2 individuals that were in jail, one in a neighboring county and one in our jail, and ultimately executed a search warrant there on the property where Jason was found. He was in I'm going to say maybe 6-8 inches of dirt, but had concrete poured on top. And from the investigation, but also the evidence there the night whenever his remains were recovered, it was very apparent that concrete had been recently poured and some modification to the area to completely cover his body in an attempt to hide his remains for who knows when. Again, coming from those tips, it's important that we did follow up on that through that search warrant and ultimately progressed into a homicide investigation.
What ties this woman, Isabelle Johnson, with this man?
They had some sort of relationship, again, friendship, but also we believe to be romantic in nature. There is a lot of that, what we're seeing in kind of her lifestyle with having multiple different, both men and women, where she's had some very strong relationships, both friendships and romantic in nature. And it's kind of complicating because we have to pay attention to every single person with hopes of identifying exactly that last person that maybe can tell us where she is or can provide us some sort of evidence to support our investigation or support where we can find her right now.
Yeah, assuming that she is the person who murdered this man, do you have any motive or cause of death?
A few speculations, but what we have to do is focus the investigation on total fact and evidence. We really focus our efforts on what we can prove based off facts so we can give the best case for prosecution for our state attorney's office. And we're working directly with them, also the medical examiner's office, to really collect all of that evidence. Even though Jason was recovered a month ago, that investigation is continuing, as well as investigating her whereabouts so we can bring her back to Walton County and bring her to justice.
Was he from that county, or was she from that county?
That's kind of a difficult thing. I know Jason was originally from New Jersey, or spent some time in New Jersey, but he was reported missing out of Niceville, Florida, which is in the neighboring county, Okaloosa County. From working with their investigators, they had some connections in Okaloosa County and Walton County. Again, those counties kind of blend together, some neighborhoods there that cross both lines. However, we know that Isabelle Johnson frequents not only Florida with Okaloosa and Walton counties, but up into Alabama and some of northwestern Georgia as well, just based off of her previous addresses, relationships, some previous arrests in those areas too.
Employment history of either one of them or both of them? Do they have jobs?
Yes. Isabelle Johnson was previously in the military at some point. However, recently began bouncing from place to place. We can call it odd jobs. We know that they're in some drug trade or drug trafficking, not to the extent of large quantities. However, we do know that drugs are involved in this. Don't believe it to be an immediate reason or cause for killing, but know that that is a factor.
And what was his occupation? Did he have an occupation?
Don't really have the details of that, but what we do know is that as their relationship progressed or grew over time, it progressed clearly down a route of there was some sort of a disagreement and or just conflict between them, ultimately leading to what we believe Isabelle taking his life.
Well, there are 5 other people who have been arrested. I've looked at it, and it appears that those 5 people, and I realize it's an early investigation, they somehow facilitated for her, either hid her or tried to help her get away. So that seems to be that she had help at some point.
Absolutely. And that help was providing money, providing rides. Again, we were dealing with some of those. We're in their apartment complex, interviewing, trying to identify where Isabelle was, and we have a high confidence that she was in either a neighboring apartment or in that clear same apartment complex. So that's where our frustration is. We're literally right on top of her. That's back at the beginning, the end of June. And so what we're doing is anybody that has provided any support to her, we're doing our best to capture them and charge them as well, because ultimately we're looking for somebody here that's killed somebody. That's a homicide suspect and has that active warrant for murder. So we're putting all this the puzzle together to do what we can to bring her back to justice.
What does she have a criminal record? Is she a suspect in other even homicides?
Yes, no homicides that we know, but has a lengthy criminal history locally, even with some fraud and again some narcotics things. That's kind of the unique. There's multiple circles that she's run in, and so when we start seeing overlaps of drug usage, some drug sales, some possession charges, it really starts to complicate things because those circles of people start growing and growing. Total amount of interviews that we've conducted is up in the 20s, and people that we have identified as having connections, probably 30 plus, even 40 plus, which again creates some more of a challenge for us.
Well, I have no doubt that you're going to find her. Pictures plastered every place, even though she changes her identity, and she's going to make a mistake at some point. And the fact that you've arrested 5 ought to be a warning to anyone attempting to help her. Don't help her, and to call the police. Anyway, Chief Deputy Dustin Cosson, good luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Coming up, a Secret Service agent assigned to the Vice President's detail has been placed on leave. Why? Plus, former Special Counsel Jack Smith is back in the news, and he won't like this. That's when the record continues.
feeling winded and short of breath when you should be enjoying life? Your days are made for more than this. And if you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Don't let shortness of breath ruin your day. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency, so you can get back to doing the things you love. Boost Oxygen contains pure supplemental oxygen that is safe for daily use and comes in a portable, lightweight canister without a prescription.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen. Get Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
At Omaha Steaks, we take premium aged steak and turn it into pure ground burgers like this. Our Burger Perfection flight comes with 20 big, juicy burgers, all for just $79.99 at omahasteaks.com/TV. Burger Perfection, guaranteed.
I'm scared for you. Scared that we became this world.
The world didn't become this way. It's always been this way.
Keep running!
This isn't the end of a fight. This is the start of one.
An alleged leak at the highest levels of Secret Service. A member of Vice President Vance's security detail is under investigation for allegedly leaking sensitive information. The Secret Service released this statement saying, quote, "A member of the Vice Presidential Protective Division is the subject of an administrative investigation and potential criminal inquiry involving allegations of compromising operational and information security. While we will not comment on the specifics of this matter, one principle is unequivocal, and any conduct that potentially threatens the safety of a protectee will not be tolerated," end quote. The unidentified agent is believed to have been the source of an MS Now story. That story cited an agent who claimed Vance's security detail was frustrated over last-minute travel arrangements and special requests. Former Secret Service Special Agent and former DHS Senior Advisor Charles Marino joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And is it a breach of security to say you're frustrated with your boss as long as you don't say where your boss is moving or doing, just that it's sort of chaos? Is that a breach?
Well, first off, Greta, it's a violation of the oath that the agent swore to uphold when he took the position and the job that he agreed to do. So while there's frustration in all lines of work, the Secret Service's mission is very clear, and the agent knew when he was assigned to the Vice President's detail what the demands of that job was and is. With respect to the frustration got very specific in terms of complaints about the way the Vice President was choosing to travel and the means by which he was going to travel. So that's where it gets very complicated for this poor agent who decided to run his mouth and spill these details. And so that's why it's both an administrative and criminal investigation right now.
Well, the thing that was run, that was the public, was that is that a helicopter was going to be used to take his son to a golf lesson at Andrews Air Force Base. And to most people, that would seem quite outrageous because it's so expensive. You know, being a driver here in D.C., and I know the expenses that you take a motorcade through the city, and you're gonna cause a lot of disruption. So it sounds really horrible, but it's always it's complicated.
Well, it's not the job of the Secret Service to look for these types of issues that may come to play with respect to the transportation that the protectees are taking. You know, they also have to have trust with those that they protect to be able to conduct the mission. So this hurts the agency, but the leadership that's in place right now isn't going to tolerate it. They've made it very clear that there will be accountability. And hopefully that will institute some form of deterrence. But with respect to the specificity regarding any movements of any protectees, it's not the Secret Service's role to be discussing that publicly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I'm just somewhat sympathetic to Secret Service. I remember Barbara Bush, former First Lady.
Publicly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I'm just somewhat sympathetic to Secret Service. I remember Barbara Bush, former First Lady, with George H.W. Bush, telling me that long after they left the White House, even going to the drugstore was quite a production down in Texas. And it really, and these members of the Secret Service, they're away from their families, and it's a really tough job, and you're putting your life on the line. So I have a lot of respect for the Secret Service, and I don't think people realize how tough the job really is.
Well, look, it is a demanding job. The public likely doesn't know to the full extent, nor should they. It's a very specialized job. And I've had these discussions with younger agents that worked for me. I was a supervisor on the vice president's detail. I was with President Bush and President Clinton when they were in office. So I've got a lot of protective experience. And yes, you have to have these conversations with younger agents. But when they start to question the job, you have to ask them what part of the brochure they started reading at, that they may have missed a section. The demands are very clearly stated of the job. And look, if it's no longer for you, they can leave the agency, Greta. But what they should not be doing is leaking information to the press.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm totally with you on that. All right, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the rescheduled one is this weekend. And obviously, I was at the last one when we all went under the tables because of the gunman. I imagine that the Secret Service is filtering through so many threats right now, and you know, how do you possibly protect an event like this?
Well, the threat environment, as you said, has never been higher here in the United States for a multitude of reasons, both originating from overseas and here domestically. And the challenges aren't going away. The mission of the Secret Service has never been more important or more tested and challenged. So they need to evolve as an agency as quickly as the threat environment evolves. And I think that's what the current leadership is focused on doing exactly. Ultimately, the security plan at the Hilton in Washington, D.C. succeeded. The foundation of the Secret Service policies and procedures, when implemented correctly, that layered approach to security, it works. What needs to work also is enhancing technologies and capabilities to meet these threats.
How do you possibly, though, I remember peeking out from underneath the table, and there was a Secret Service agent who was standing in front of the president, who was seated, facing everybody, facing a whole empty room, and he was going to take the bullet if there was a bullet coming. The rest of us were hiding. How do you actually train someone to, I mean, you know, that's not the direction I would have gone.
Yeah, no, and it's opposite one's natural reaction, as you described what you were doing and what they're trained to do. You know, in the protection assignment, as opposed to investigations, when conducting investigations, you hear gunshots, you take cover. In protection, you do the opposite. And so a lot of this is training, and it's training on where to be positioned. And one of those positions has to be between an adversary and the person you're charged with protecting. So it's muscle memory, it's training, and it's commitment. A lot of this is commitment to the mission. The importance, not just of the person, but of the office of the presidency. Remember, this is about the continuation of government. This is about a figurehead that shows stability to the rest of the world. So the mission's never been more important than it is today. And most of the men and women in the Secret Service prove that dedication each and every day.
Well, I appreciate your service, and I appreciate all those who do serve in the Secret Service, because I see them all the time, at least the ones that I see. And of course, you know, I'm sorry that there was this possible breach. But anyway, Charles Marino, thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Former Special Counsel Jack Smith, who twice brought criminal cases against President Trump, is back in the news. This time, however, he is the one who could face a criminal case. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan has referred Smith to the Justice Department for investigation and possible charges. Jordan sent the referral to Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. In the referral letter, Jordan writes, quote, "The Committee on the Judiciary writes to refer strong evidence that appears to show Jack Smith, former special counsel, knowingly made false statements during his December 17, 2025 deposition. While testifying under oath, Mr. Smith seemingly made willfully and intentionally false statements of material fact that contradict new documents obtained by the committee from the Department of Justice," end quote. Lawyers for Jack Smith deny the allegations. They say Smith testified truthfully. Coming up, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani created a new problem for himself. And wait until you hear who is outraged. That when the record continues.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
Free yourself from prying eyes. Ask privately with Duck.ai. Visit Duck.ai to chat privately with ChatGPT, Claude, and other AIs for free, all in one place. Duck.ai is from DuckDuckGo, where AI is private and optional.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
As a working mom, I'm always on the move. The zip-up shoulder support bra from Tommy Copper is the perfect bra for my busy life. I have to do it all, and I can wear it for anything. I love the support for my back and shoulders. From morning to night, why would I wear any other bra? Thank you, Tommy Copper.
My days are long, packed with activities. I need a bra that's comfortable and supportive. Thanks, Tommy Copper.
I feel so confident with great posture. No matter what I'm doing, why would I wear any other bra? Thank you, Tommy Copper.
Go to TommyCopper.com and upgrade your bra today.
Most people call leaf filter when their gutters are clogged and they notice one of the many issues that can bring. You can get ahead of costly damage by protecting your home's gutters today.
Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
You can't find a ranch style with a view.
And a mom-in-law suite.
More realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. With their expert new search tool, just search it like you'd say it.
Room for mom.
And Reba. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
What if losing a pair of sunglasses was actually fine? That's why we built Shady Rays. Every pair of Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection, but no matter what happens, whether you drop them in the lake, a wave gets them, they're covered with lost and broken protection.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Turns out the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools can be installed in weeks. Our pools won't stain or crack and never require costly resurfacing. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
The mayor of New York City, socialist Zohran Mamdani, is getting a lot of attention for something way outside his authority.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant.
Earlier today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio lambasted the International Criminal Court, the ICC.
We're not members of the ICC. We never signed that treaty. We never joined it. And they somehow claim that they have a right, nonetheless, to go after non-treaty members and put heads of state and others in jail. We've long had quarrels with them. And we have lunatics and crazies involved in the ICC that are talking about charging members of the U.S. military, maybe even the president or a future president, with crimes. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Well, what is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying about this? Well, earlier this week, the Prime Minister's office called the ICC a kangaroo court. Prime Minister's office also said, quote, Mr. Mamdani should focus on fixing the damages policies have caused New York, end quote. Well, guess who else agrees with that? Pennsylvania Democrat Senator John Fetterman. He told me this on Monday.
He's a total clown. I mean, he has the authority to arrest Netanyahu any more than I would have the authority to arrest him in Washington, D.C. if he visited down in Washington, D.C. You're a mayor, dude. You know, pick up trash, fix some potholes.
By the way, President Trump also said Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form. Israeli Ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador Dannyy Danon, joins me. Nice to see you, sir. And I read the quote by the mayor, and I thought it was horrible. Listening to him say it, though, is actually quite frightening to me because there is, I mean, why did he do that?
You know, Greta, it's very dangerous. We can look at it as a stunt, as a theater, as a circus, but it's more serious than that because this campaign of the mayor is actually endangering the Jews who live in New York City. There is the rise of anti-Semitism. Synagogues are being attacked. Only a few minutes ago, we were reported about an incident in the Upper West Side where someone was targeted. So every day we get reports of attacks against Jews. And the mayor, instead of providing security to everyone in the city, is doing exactly the opposite. He's instigating, he's inciting. That's dangerous. He should stop with this behavior. He was elected to unite the people of New York, to take care of the issues that a mayor should take care of, and not incite against Israel and against the Jewish community here.
Well, this was none of his business. The United States is not a member of the ICC, nor is Israel, and this is none of his business, yet he tries to light that fuse. And we see anti-Semitism growing all over this country, that it's rather, you know, I mean, how does this stop?
Well, I agree with you. He knows better than that. You know, anyone knows that there is no jurisdiction, that the ICC, the U.S. is not recognizing this court, and that Prime Minister Netanyahu will come, will speak. The only thing the mayor can do is to attend the General Assembly, sit on the sidelines, and maybe learn something from the Prime Minister. So, but the language he uses, and the fact that he put so much energy, you know, I watched the video he put out. He planned everything there. It was orchestrated. It was an orchestrated attack against Israel. And, you know, he spoke about things that happened in Gaza, allegedly, lies that never took place. But we are above that. We have a ceasefire now. You have humanitarian aid entering Gaza, and he's still blaming Israel, spreading blood libels about us committing genocide and war crimes. That's a dangerous behavior of an elected official.
Well, it means one thing to be stupid and not know about the ICC and not know your authority. He's got that in one category. I got that. But I think this is so much deeper than that. As I said, it's like he's trying to light the fuse, deliberately try to cause, you know, great harm. That's what I find so profoundly disturbing by him. He is the mayor, and I mean, it's just so horrible. Let me turn to another question. Going back to let me go back to October 7th. I actually watched that 47-minute video. I walked the kibbutz. I went to the festival grounds. I've talked to everybody. I've interviewed Netanyahu and the Prime Minister a number of times. And in looking at that 47-minute video, I've never understood this, is that why more of it hasn't been released to the public. Because when you juxtapose that video next to the hateful things that this mayor is saying, is that I can't imagine it doesn't have some impact, because the Hamas was bragging about killing Jews and killing Israelis and doing it in the most unthinkable ways.
Absolutely. You know, we showed the video to visitors who came to Israel. We respected the request of the families not to make it wide open to everyone, but it's horrible to see the intentions, to see the way they actually videotaped the rapings, the crimes they committed on innocent people on October 7th. And to see the mayor of New York, a few days ago, he actually mourned the death of a Hamas. He called him a journalist, but he wasn't a journalist. He was a Hamas terrorist. We showed the pictures. This guy was a sniper who took part of the massacre of October 7th. And the mayor of New York City is actually mourning the death of a terrorist. So it's outrageous. It's shameful.
Is it? I don't know if you paid attention, but in the past several decades, a lot of Jewish members, a lot of Jewish Americans are Democrats, and then we see the recent vote in Congress, and we see what's going on with sort of the hate, the anti-Semitism all over the country. We hear the mayor. How is it that that I'm not telling that these Jewish Americans they should vote Republican, but how do they go to the polls and vote for some of these Democrats that won't support them?
We respect the democracy in the U.S. That's the same values we have in Israel. We are going to elections in October. But, I think many of the people who voted for the mayor, they cared about affordable houses. They cared about the bus transportation, about the city, not about aligning with Iran or supporting Hamas. That's not the role of a mayor. And I'm sure many of those who voted for him are frustrated.
But on campuses, they're supporting that. They're supporting Hamas on some of these campuses. The anti-Semitism. It's, I've showed it night after night after night. Some of these incidents. It's
but
growing.
It's not unique to New York, Greta. I have seen it in many countries, and unfortunately, it's coming here to the U.S. I have seen politicians and leaders trying to distract the attention from their own failures.
But it's not condemned. But yes, but it's not. Everyone should be screaming about this and condemning it. That's what I don't get. Instead we have this mayor and we show this soundbite. We've all shown the soundbite, but there should be a strong condemnation of what the mayor is saying. But it's just we just play it like here's the mayor.
Absolutely, and I think we shouldn't wait, because if we wait, it will be too late. We will see violence on the streets. We will see Jews being attacked more than today. That's why we should not wait. And the mayor must, show some responsibility. He should realize that now with the mayor of New York, he's not leading a radical movement anymore, and he should be responsible about what he's doing.
Yeah, he's lighting the fuse instead. Anyway, Ambassador Danny Danon, nice to see you as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.
Coming up, you've seen our segment, Judges Gone Wild. Well, get ready for this. A prosecutor gone wild, and the allegations are salacious. That one, the record continues.
He was the Duke, on screen bigger than life, with millions of devoted fans around the world. A man of strength and courage. His first love was always his country. Watch American Hero, the John Wayne story.
LeafGuard has earned the Good Housekeeping seal for over 20 years and has been lab tested to handle up to 32 inches of rainfall an hour. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Get LeafGuard, the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee and lifetime transferable warranty. It's LeafGuard's Celebrate America sale. 75% off installation of a complete LeafGuard system. You'll receive a bonus, a $250 Visa gift card with your LeafGuard purchase. Act now and get no interest and no payments until 2028. Remember, with LeafGuard, the top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter. Call now to have a nice gift for you. A free $100 Visa gift card with your free in-home estimate. Call 800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
The LeafGuard system has blown away our initial expectations.
I love the fact my LeafGuard gutters are low maintenance.
I'm a happy LeafGuard customer.
Who wants to be on a ladder this summer cleaning clogged gutters? Let's face it, they can be a fire hazard in drier conditions. All it takes is one spark. That's why homeowners choose LeafGuard, the gutter that never clogs, guaranteed. It's our Celebrate America sale, 75% off installation of a complete Leaf Guard system. You'll receive a bonus, a $250 Visa gift card with purchase. Act now and get no interest and no payments until 2028. This can come in handy when you fill up at the pump, a free $100 Visa gift card with your free in-home estimate. Call 800-541-1274. Now let me give you that number again, 1-800-541-1274.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Healthy aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science pioneered by Human, supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, blood pressure, and energy. Results you can feel, science you can trust. Get started today at human.com.
We have reported about judges gone wild. Now we have a case of prosecutors gone wild. Ray County, Missouri Republican prosecutor Camille Johnson has been temporarily removed from her elected post. Why? Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway says Johnson, quote, used the court docket as her dating app.
We allege in our complaint for the quo that she had sexual relations with a defense counsel, a potential defendant, an illegal immigrant to whom she gave her car so that he could abscond. It's unbelievable behavior, including, members of the courthouse walking in on her during one of these incidents.
Incidents, she says. That's the Missouri Attorney General. And she says Johnson, though, has been temporarily removed because she would not resign when given the chance. That forced the AG to file a writ of quo warranto. That is the legal order to challenge a person's right to hold office. Johnson was first elected 2014. She was reelected 2018 and again in 2022. And get this, the Missouri Ethics Commission says Johnson is still planning to run for another term later this year. Johnson has not commented on these allegations. Former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, Jay Town, joins me. Jay, I never saw prosecutors like this. She takes the prize, assuming she did everything the Attorney General says, or even half of it.
Yeah, and I know Attorney General Catherine Hanaway very well, and she's not telling the truth. I mean, she wouldn't say those things if she didn't absolutely believe them. This is a case of prosecutorial indiscretion. Transferring the title to an illegal immigrant. So it's also being reported she misled investigators as to where that individual might be. The hardest part about this is a career prosecutor, and this is the same if for cops when they hear about a dirty cop or anything similar to that, betraying the public trust, eroding the public trust. That is the foundation. That is the bedrock principle of our justice system. And prosecutors can't act this way. There's ethical issues, there's legal issues with it. And certainly internally, it sounds like her office is an entire mess. So Ray County can do better, it sounds like. This is not the personal playground.
I don't know if they can do worse. I don't know if they can do worse. And it's not,
agree.
It's not like this just started. According to some reports that Johnson, according to one of the AG reports, Johnson was informed as early as September 15, 2020, that's almost 6 years ago, that the illegal immigrant was a suspect in a sexual assault, and that's the one that she went on vacations with. She changed the title of her car so that he could, into his name, so he could drive the car. I mean, this is such crazy stuff. I mean, and we're in 2026, and they're just getting around to getting rid of her, and she's elected?
Yeah, and elected again during that period. There's also my understanding is the office itself, when they found out about this, she was threatening, at least it's reported, threatening to fire people and terminate folks who, if they said anything about it. I mean, this is not the discretion, the prosecutorial discretion that we want in a prosecutor anywhere in this country.
Well, first of all, any lawyer in her office who knew about it, prosecutor didn't say something, should be fired. That's number one, assuming these allegations are true. They definitely. Secondly, if I were a defense attorney in that county and she prosecuted my client, I would be filing motions to vacate right now any convictions. I would do all this. But the astounding thing is this has been going on for so long and everybody knew about it.
Yeah, she needs to be worried about just her law license at this point too, not just her job. Having relations with the defense counsel who has cases in front of her office, 2 defendants, it sounds like, 1 prospective defendant, I suppose, but 2 criminals who, she's having relationships with. I mean, that is absolutely barred under every canon of prosecutors' ethics rules.
Helping someone abscond by turning your car over to the person and changing your title to that person who the police are looking for. I mean, that's not just losing your law license. That's like, ka-ching, ka-ching. It's like the handcuffs come on with something like that.
That's obstruction of justice definitionally, right? So, she's got a lot of problems. And again, my biggest problem with her is not her morals or her as a lawyer. It's that the entire justice system's credibility gets eroded by this type of activity, and anybody engaged in it should be removed from it entirely.
Well, let's throw in also the federal judge down in Atlanta who's sleeping with the cop, and the 11th Circuit knows about it, and they give her a private reprimand, and after she first lied about it, and yet she's allowed to sit because she's got a permanent constitutional job, and she's got people just appearing before her, and she's requiring them to tell the truth, but she doesn't have to tell the truth.
Yeah, that's not helping either. But district court judges right now in this country don't have a lot of credibility as it is right now. At least some of them.
Well, she doesn't help. She doesn't help, and neither does. And the 11th Circuit doesn't help. And the United States Supreme Court, which is superior to the 11th Circuit, should be clobbering the 11th Circuit for giving a private reprimand and letting that go on. But anyway, J-Town, thank you.
Thanks, Greta.
Breaking now, we're going to go to the White House. President Trump is hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Babe, right? The second worst trade in history, just out of curiosity? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the entire Los Angeles Lakers team. Okay? They traded the whole team to Milwaukee, and they won plenty of championships with Kareem. But this group started their title defense with 9 pitchers injured before the first fastball was ever thrown. They played their opening game in Tokyo and traveled more than 2,000 miles. It's more than any team has ever traveled. In fact, from the first pitch to the final out, they endured and triumphed through the longest season of any team in the history of Major League Baseball, 229 days. I didn't know that. Did you know that? That's a pretty crazy fact. I mean, it's not the kind of fact you think about. What is it going to be, a half a day longer or something? I don't know. That's a different kind of a fact, Mark, than I ever heard of, but that's what they give me to read, so what can I tell you? 220, the longest season ever? I don't know what the hell that means. In the postseason, the Dodgers exploded with 9 wins in their first 10 games. Unbeatable. In the National League Championship Series against the Brewers, the brilliant Dodgers pitching rotation of Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Shohei, and of course, Yoshi Yamamoto combined for a record-setting ERA of just .63. In other words, if you get 1 run, you're in good shape. That's amazing pitching. And by the way, I just asked Dave, I said, how are you doing this year? I've been a little busy with Iran and some other things, so if I know too much, you wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be doing a good job if I know too much. But I said, how are you doing? He said, we have the best record in baseball, right? So far, right?
Yes, sir.
That's good. Might see you back next year, I hope. So, not starting rotation, and think no starting rotation has ever done anything better or anything even comparable to the championship Series in the history of the sport with some great pitchers, some of the greatest pitchers ever. In Game 2 of the same series, superstar Max Muncy hit his 14th postseason home run. Where's Max?
Right there.
Come in, Max. Guy's a winner. They're all winners. His 14th postseason home, that's a lot of home runs in the postseason. That's, breaking the all-time Dodger record. Who's second? Who did you break there, Max? Who was second? Pretty good player, right?
I'm not sure.
I'll let you know later. I'll let you.
He's not done yet.
I'll figure it out. He's got a long way to go too. Then the decisive Game 4, Shohei pitched a 6-inning shutout, struck out 10 batters, and on the other side of the plate hit an unbelievable 3 home runs. In fact, I was watching the game, and before the announcer said it, I said, that might be the greatest game ever played. The guy pitched 6 unbelievable innings and got 3 home runs, won the game. His Herculean effort sealed the National League pennant and lifted the Dodgers to the World Series championship. Think of it. You have a man on the team who pitched perfectly and hit 3 home runs, I think in a single. And I said to myself, that's the greatest game ever played by one person, because you did the pitching and the hitting. And he's not finished yet also, right? He's not finished. He's got a lot of them left. That World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays proved to be among the most thrilling championships in the history of the sport. I watched it because I was having a little bet with the Prime Minister of Canada. I had a little bet. I was not feeling so good for a little while. It wasn't looking so good, neither were you. After splitting the first 2 games, Game 3 went to extra innings, forcing this pitching rotation to grind through some incredibly tough spots. In the top of the 12th, it went a long time. Legend Clayton Kershaw. Where's Clayton? I want to see him. He's a winner. You talk about a winner. Fantastic. Look at that guy. I watched him beat a lot of our teams that were supposed to do well. They didn't do too well against him. And he's still pitching well, I'll bet, right?
Well, he's spending time with the family now, sir.
Well, it's called, yeah. But it is called ultimately talent, right?
Yes.
Would you say talent is the whole ball game? You could pitch right now. If they needed you, you'd be out there, right? No? And he's smart. Anyway, Clayton took the mound for his last time in Dodger Blue, and with the final pitch of his epic career, and it was an epic career, he got this team out of a bases-loaded jam. That was really something. They picked the right person. The rest of the bullpen did not allow a single run, including the very last addition to the roster, reliever Will Klein. Where's Will Klein, Clayton? Where is Will Klein? Hi, Will. He's a big guy, too. Were you nervous? He was a little nervous. That's great. Thank you, Will. He pitched 4 scoreless innings, that's right, and sent the game to the record-tying 18th inning at almost 3 a.m. on the East Coast, and I actually stayed up. I was watching it. I was watching that game. I said, will this game ever end? It was a long one, but it was amazing, actually. I thought it was a game that you were going to lose about 4 or 5 times, and you ended up winning. Luck is okay, too, right?
Luck is okay.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
okay. Well, but with talent, you get a lot of luck. In the bottom of the 18th, with a chance to end the game, who else would you want at the plate other than Freddie Freeman? I love Freddie Freeman. Where's Freddie? I spoke, I was with the Atlanta Braves yesterday. I said, great going losing Freddie. It's true. I was in Atlanta. I made a speech, and your general manager and president of the team, 2 great people, by the way, and they do love you. I wouldn't say they're thrilled, but I talked about it. I said, what about Freddie? Could you have kept him? And I don't know the answer to that, but all I know is you've been just as good here as you have been. Usually it doesn't work out that way, You go, and it's not quite the same. We could name a lot of players. I think you may be even better. Is he doing pretty well? Shohei, is he doing a pretty good job, right, Freddie? He's pretty good. Freddie's pretty good. Well, they are not happy. Let me just tell you that. They were very nice people, but they weren't thrilled at my bringing your name up On a 3-2 count, Freddie squared off with a fastball over the middle, blasted it 406 feet to center field, raised his arms high, and walked off a World Series game for the second year in a row. That was the second year. That was something. Then World Series MVP Yoshi Yamamoto, oh boy, did he pitch well. Pitched an incredible Game 6, sending the Dodgers to an unforgettable Game 7. Where's Yoshi? Very smart. You are something. That's great. You are something. You're both something. But it's an unforgettable. Game 7 was about to take place multiple times. His team was one play away from losing it all. And I knew that. I mean, you had like 4 incidents that you came out on the right, including the catcher. Where's the catcher?
No, he's hurt.
His foot went back on that plate. You think I'm playing games. This isn't it. Most of them would have tried to bluff it, but he didn't want to do that. He went back by about a quarter of a second. He got there. If he didn't go back, most players wouldn't do that. A lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. You guys are we're lucky to have them here, right? But he did a great job doing that. That play was amazing. And you had many amazing plays in that game. And the last 2 and the last 3 games, down 4-3 in the top of the 9th inning, Miguel Rojas slugged his first home run in over 40 days to tie it up. I expected he was going to do that. You know why? I heard he's a winner. I heard he's a winner. Where is Miguel? Where are you?
He's a winner.
So did you expect that to happen? Absolutely. Just say you thought he was going to. That was great. That was amazing, actually. In the bottom of the same inning, he threw out a Blue Jay. Oh, that's right. You did that great throw, too. Boy, that was a hell of a. You giving him a little increase, please?
That's his department.
All right. So that was pretty good. Yeah, that was a rather good game for you, wasn't it, huh? Was he the MVP of that game? Or close? Maybe not.
No, I think it was Yamamoto.
I don't know. Yeah, that's right. You had a lot of them. But they were 2 incredible plays. Good. Would you give it to him? Huh? Got to go with them. They got to go. Great job. But sprinting home by a fraction of a second, that was the one I guess I'm talking about with the catcher with the foot, right?
Yes.
It was unbelievable. His foot was off the plate. But instead of just sort of bluffing it like I would do in baseball, I'd bluff it, like pretending it was on. He went, and then he went back and touched the plate. And if he didn't, that was the end of that game, right? Unbelievable. Congratulate him. Then Andy Paez. I wanted to get that one right.
You got it right.
I wanted to get that one right. I had to get that right because the Y is an H. And it was easy once they told me that. I can't get you wrong, I'd be in big trouble. But Andy came off the bench for one single play in the outfield. The Blue Jays drove a deep fly ball over his head. So he turned and he sprinted over 120 feet, colliding with his teammate and making one of the most memorable catches in the history of the World Series. It was crazy, that catch. That was unbelievable. And he was put in for defensive purposes. Was that a good move? Do you think you have a good manager, maybe? You did that for defensive. Because that was a hell of a catch. And then 2 extra innings later, the Dodgers, this was truly a great World Series, right?
Maybe the best in history.
Yeah, I was watching it, and I had a reason, but I was watching it, and I thought it was incredible, actually. 2 extra innings later, the Dodgers scored the go-ahead run, and Yoshi closed out the game on 0 days rest, becoming the first pitcher in over 2 decades to win 3 games in a single World Series, and he hit real well, too. This team proudly brought home the championship for the USA, and if they managed to repeat this year, they would become the first team to win 3 in a row since the days of the legendary baseball dynasty, the 1990 New York Yankees, and I was there for a lot of those games with George Steinbrenner. He was a friend of mine. And he was a guy, he liked winning. He would do anything to win. He would do anything to win, I tell you. But you're doing the same thing. It's amazing, Mark. Once again, congratulations, everyone, on this historic trip, this great journey that you're on. And, I know so many people in baseball. I know the owners, they work so hard. They spend so much money on talent and everything else. And I see you here again, and probably again and again and again. And it's a real talent between you and Dave and the people that do all the selecting and these unbelievable athletes behind me. I have great respect, really great respect. So, Mark, if you'd say a few words, and then Dave. And I want to thank everybody for being here. This is really a special team. It's special winners. They're champions and just unbelievable. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them back again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's truly an honor for us to be back at the White House again. We are so proud of our 2025 championship team and our back-to-back titles. This is such an exceptional group of people. Oh,
I think, sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Okay, it's back-to-back titles, and we're once again here to celebrate with this great tradition of celebrating a championship with the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're grateful to be here following another incredible season with what many believe was the greatest World Series ever played. Winning back-to-back championships is an extraordinary accomplishment, and it reflects the talent, determination, and character of everyone in the organization. Thank you for welcoming us today, Mr. President. We're proud of that team and what it has achieved.
You've been watching President Trump in the Rose Garden of the White House. He was hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers, who won the last World Series twice. And now we have a fake news alert. Take a look at this video. It shows a soccer field on top of a skyscraper. Posts on social media say it's being built. Let's put it up there. Say it's being built for the 2034 World Cup in Saudi Arabia. Millions of people have seen and even shared this video. The problem? It's a fake. The video was generated by artificial intelligence. So what is the real story? Well, Saudi Arabia is building a new stadium, but Saudi Arabia is also building the stadium as it builds an entirely new city. According to renderings of the new stadium will be built like this, sitting among the city. It will not be built on top of a skyscraper. The entirely new city is going to be called The Line. You can see it is an actual line. It's about 100 miles long. The futuristic city plans to open around 2032 and claims to be able to house 9 million people. And if you need some motivation to get off the couch, we found someone who might help get you inspired. Here is Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy.
Hey guys, John Kennedy here. I'm in Madisonville, Louisiana. It's 92 degrees. I call this video Me, Margaret, and Bobby McGee. If you like it, I hope you'll tell your friends. If you don't like it, I hope you'll keep it to yourself. Busted flat in Baton Rouge. It is my genes.
That is 74-year-old Senator Kennedy getting in a nice workout with his elliptical that he has named Margaret. Senator Kennedy has posted videos with Margaret before. He says he named the machine after former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Why? Well, the senator says both Margaret Thatcher and his workout machine named Margaret, quote, kick butt and take names, end quote. Don't forget I have a podcast called Greta Wire. You'll like it. It's different. It's free. You can subscribe right now on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at newsmax.com/listen. And there's a really interesting one on now. There is a case of Robert Durst, who murdered his neighbor died. He got dismembered, put him in a bag, put him in the bay, and he was found not guilty. So how does that happen? Well, go to Greta Wire and you'll find out. And incidentally, Jeanine Pirro, who's the U.S. attorney here in D.C., had earlier wanted to prosecute the same man for murdering his wife in New York, but that never happened. So a lot of mystery and twists and tangles with this. So go to GretaWire.com to watch that, as well as a bunch of other videos, Greta Wire videos. It's a long range. We even have James Carville in a video. So watch it. Thanks for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take, is next. David, Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.